I, myself, Rucha Gandhi from Oro University School of Business, heartily welcome all of you to this extensive webinar for career post COVID-19. We all understand, being a part of this pandemic situation, that we all are tensed up, that what is the next step we should be taking, or what are the things we can do to improve our capacity, our knowledge, our employability skills. So today we have a distinguished speaker with us, Mrs. Monica Nawandar. Well, she has a diverse experience in multiple industries, in both emerging as well as developed industries. Her roles have been at a strategic level to support the global leaders. And in her 15 plus years of HR experience, she has been in various leadership roles in India, in USA, Singapore, Dubai, and South Africa. So she will be here, and she will be helping us, answering all our questions, guiding us throughout certain key areas which we should focus on. As a designation, she is the founder and chief consultant of Neo7 Solutions, and she has a dynamic partner team of senior leaders across the globe. Right now also, I guess she is working with some global companies, and she has a lot of clients in Europe, in USA, as mentioned earlier. So probably we'll get to understand different aspects, not just based in India, but across the globe, and try to understand what is needed in every country. How can we actually make ourselves sufficient, not just in a particular area, but throughout the globe. So I welcome Mrs. Monica for this extensive webinar. And right now I would just hand over to the head of School of Business, Dr. Monica Suri. She will be giving a small introduction about Oro University and telling you a little bit more about the university. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Rucha.
Thank you.
So, welcome to all of you on behalf of Oro University, CDC School of Business. And I'm going to introduce you to Oro University briefly. Oro University was established under the Gujarat State Private Universities Act 2009 and also approved under Section 2F and 22 of UGC Act 1956 and Regulations 2003. And presently, we are having 7 schools, and this year we are going to add School of Sciences also to the umbrella of Oro University. And this webinar we are hosting under School of Business. Largely, School of Business is having PG and UG programs. And in PG programs, we are offering 2 years full-time MBA. And another master's program, which we are going to commence from this academic year, is Master of Family Business Management and Entrepreneurship. And we are enrolling those professionals and students who are coming from family business setup, and also for those employees and leaders and managers who want to pursue their career in a family-owned business setup. So we have UG programs as well. In UG programs, we are offering 3 years BBA program with a good combination of 3+1, because when BBA students, they just opt 3 years degree, they also want to pursue another 1 year or 2 years of masters or 1 year of PG diploma. So we are giving them 2 choices in this combination of 3+1, that is BBA plus PG diplomas. In PG diplomas, we are giving 2 options to them. One is PG diploma in family managed business, and another is PG diploma in financial markets. And along with that, in UG programs, we are also coming up with BCom program. And along with that, we are having PhD in management as well. So all these programs which I spoke to you are aligned to the integral, vital and spiritual aspects that I'm sure, Monica ji, you're going to cover up in your rest of your address and speech during the webinar. And we have good associations internationally and with local institutions and universities. Along with that, Confederation of Indian Industries and the South Gujarat Chamber of Commerce, they are also helping us and facilitating the internship and placement activities for us. And we are also promoting at School of Business very experiential learning, which actually is aligned to simulation-based learning, project-based learning, guest lectures from experts like you, distinguished lecture series from worldwide leaders from various industries and academia, Along with that, we are also having incubation culture in place, and our students are also groomed in the area of entrepreneurship and startup so that they can actually have their own ventures. I know in this tough time when jobs are cutting down, I think entrepreneurship and startup will help them to actually sustain as a professional. So largely this is very brief introduction of School of Business, and the topic which we have actually decided today in consultation with you is the careers post COVID-19. On this particular topic, now I'll request Honorable Dean to give his opening remarks and address, and it's over to you, Rohit sir. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. We are having this webinar with the two purposes, ma'am. One is that considering your wide experience at the national and the global level, you would help us in identifying what are the skill sets which the students nowadays require when they move out to the industry. And the second question would be, because things will not be now normal as considered earlier, there will be new areas and avenues which are coming up. And the students who are studying at this point of time, they have a very different notion of a job. They think that if they have done MBA or they have done family business diploma or they have done any other diploma, and they are fully equipped and they can be absorbed into the industry as per the qualification which they have. But normally, if you see the trend which is being reflected into the industry is, fine, you have done your MBA, that is good enough, but can you be accepted into my organization considering those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skills? And sometimes in order to get the degree, in order to cover up the syllabus, the students, as well as I blame ourselves also, the faculty miss out the certain new emerging skill areas which a student must have before they go on for the job requisites. So I hope this session will help us in identifying those skill sets, which is the need of the hour for them considering this changing scenario. Secondly, there are certain standards from the company point of view also, or the if not company, I can say it from the sector or the industry as such. And those are the laid down rules which industry expects that any student who is coming into the industry must be having, whether he is an MD or he is a diploma in family business or something else. So I would request you to please highlight on those areas which you have seen while your interaction with the people in the industry, and what they expect from their employees, that they should do it, or these are certain unsaid rules which should be adopted and followed by the aspirant who are willing to enter into the industry. So I hope the students will be asking those pertinent questions to you, and you will be helping us in getting some possible solutions and answers.
Absolutely.
So that they can carve out that niche into their career aspirations, which will definitely put them into a point where they can boast, yes, they are fully equipped and they can be absorbed into the industry and the company in which they are looking for. So thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Monica ji, now before we start with the extensive discussion on the topic, I request you to just share your insights on the topic on careers post COVID-19, and later on we'll just extend the discussion with the question answers which participants are posing on this Q&A section. So I request you to just share your insights on the topic first. Yeah.
So we've all been keeping up with global news, and all of us know what's happening around the world. And just before the session started, you, me, Dr. Singh, we were actually discussing what's happening in the workplace. Absolutely stressful times for everyone, and so many people are getting affected, right from parents to caregivers who are also working parents, working mothers, the single mothers. The entire setup of actually working from home is new to so many people, and all of us are learning at the same time. So there is, of course, not just stress, anxiety, but I would say there is also opportunity, and that would be revealed only after a few months. So yes, there is stress, there would be job cuts, there would be salary cuts. We're already seeing a lot of global organizations that are actually thriving in this pandemic, choosing to focus only on the businesses that are actually delivering or adding up to their top and bottom line. So whatever is adding value to their revenue, those are the jobs they want to focus right now and take a back seat for support roles. So those are definitely getting affected. What I would tell students is what actually Dr. Singh also said. If you were to focus on adding value and thinking creatively, about what jobs or what business ideas you can come up with, that actually makes you stand out amongst the crowd, I would say. That is what you should definitely look at. And this is the right time to actually network, to build your skills, to hone the skills that you actually desire, say for a job you want to be in, but you don't have it. So this is the time to build your confidence, build your skills, build your business idea, network, reach out to people, let them know you care about them. I would say these are my initial thoughts.
Okay. So let's start with one question, like, which I'm sure is there in the mind of every student. So what is your advice for students to deal with current situation while making most out of this particular time? So can you just give some tips to them, so that other than their academic regular activities, which they are studying in their respective semesters, other than the core papers, so what should be the value addition, as you rightly said, and our dean also emphasized on that. So can you just give them tips?
Sure. Many tips actually. So I just summarize. I would first start with again emphasizing that this is such a good time to touch base with people in your professional and your personal network. So people you may have worked with, say in jobs or internships or from your school, college. It's a good time to rekindle those connections, and that too in a genuine way. So I've been hearing a lot of people are speaking more on the phone, are setting up video calls with past colleagues and friends. I actually have a list of people that I've made that I want to catch up with. And I'm making it a point that every weekend I reach out to some of them and I set up the space time with them. So some of them are my friends, some of them are my professors, some of them are my ex-colleagues, clients. It really helps. And you definitely want to make sure that by staying in touch with these people, you are actually on top of their mind when they hear about an opportunity or they want to refer you, be it a business assignment, contractual assignment, be it a full-time job or an internship. You want to stay on top of people's mind. So this is the right time to rekindle those relationships. Another advice would be to update and improve your resume. If you've not had the chance previously to do that, then having a list of jobs that you're interested in, and then having few versions of your resume for those different roles and those different industries that you're targeting. So maybe just the summary statement of your resume could be different. What you can do is look at different job listings, job descriptions, and incorporate those keywords in your resume, as well as on your LinkedIn profile, those keywords or buzzwords that you come around for these jobs. And you can have more information on your LinkedIn profile. Unlike resume, you have different versions, but you can just have one LinkedIn profile. What you can have more on LinkedIn is more bullet points, more explanatory sentences about your skill set. And what I would say is one tip is this, very important, on your LinkedIn, in your privacy settings, turn off the setting that lets people know that you're making changes to your profile. So turn that off and then start updating the sections. And even if some of you actually have jobs, it is never too early to start looking at job postings and just looking on LinkedIn and newspapers, various online job portals, getting a feeling for what companies are hiring, what are they looking for, what regions are they hiring for, and make a list of those interesting roles that you come across. So two of the websites I would definitely refer you look at. One is flexijobs.com. They offer fully remote and telecommuting opportunities. So I repeat, flexijobs.com, and I'll make sure I share it with Rucha so she sends in the link. And this is the right time actually for telecommute and remote opportunities. So definitely look at that website. The other one is Upwork. So if you were to register yourself on Upwork, a lot of work that is outsourced or offshored from other countries, specifically from North America, you can land some assignments there. So definitely register yourself, enroll yourself on Upwork and list out your skills there. You may come across some of the skills that these jobs demand that Dr. Suri was actually talking about, and you don't have it. So this is the time to build and hone those skills. For example, Excel or Slack or Salesforce or business writing. So many providers currently are actually offering webinars and free learning courses. So make the most of it, right from LinkedIn Learning to Udemy to Khan Academy. There are so many more. And even a couple of hours of online learning will actually give you skills, not just say to update on your resume, but you can actually speak about them in your interviews and in your conversations and discussions that you set up. Check in with your college career center. They're already doing a lot of work around it. It doesn't matter when did you graduate if we have alumni today on today's session. So many B schools and many other B schools actually and their college career centers are also offering virtual services that are not just for their alumni, but others also. You can make the most of that. They offer right from resume writing to your LinkedIn profile reviews to job search seminars. They're doing it through various mediums, Facebook Live, Zoom. So make the most of that. As I previously said, and Dr. Singh said too, it's the time to think creatively about what kind of job you might get. We don't know yet who will be hiring. So keep up with the news, see which companies are hiring right now and planning to hire in the coming months. LinkedIn in particular is asking people to use the hashtag coronavirus hiring. So hashtag coronavirus hiring. If you search with this, there'll be jobs that come up that companies are posting with this hashtag, and they're definitely looking at this period, which is a lull period and not many companies are hiring. So use that hashtag coronavirus hiring. I'll find out alternatives to full-time work. So maybe this is not the time that you actually land a role that you desire. But what about part-time work? What about freelancing work that may actually lead you to establishing your own business? Sometimes it is just foot in the door and actually you may land up with a full-time role within your desired company. So even if you're not able to find the exact opportunity you want right now, I would say try considering other options that could potentially be stepping stones. And I would say broaden your search. Don't just look at MNCs, look at startups, look at small and mid-sized scale companies, look at government organizations, not-for-profits, all these. So say, for example, you wanted to get into digital marketing, or maybe you were interested, say, in a tech company or a tech industry as such. So use hashtags on LinkedIn when you do job search. Use hashtag tech jobs, hashtag tech interns, see what comes up. Maybe there are no jobs, but maybe you see people who you can connect to and finally broaden your network and actually get to learn about those opportunities much before others do. Follow recruiters and follow companies that you want to work for. And finally, try to do a little bit every day. So you want to get that momentum started. Start with sending one email, update one section of your LinkedIn profile, submit one job application, take one online course, say even a 10 minutes free learning class, say on Udemy. Anything to build that momentum would help.
Yeah, I think that's a great, excellent piece of advice, specifically which you talked about LinkedIn and the skills to search the job, because searching for a job is itself an art and skill.
Searching for a job is itself a full-time job, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, true. So in addition to what you shared, do you think it will be a good idea for our students to do some short-term certifications which will give them good international and global visibility also as a professional? Maybe they should not be in a hurry just to attend, to just get into job, as you rightly said. Look for a short-term or maybe a part-time kind of work, and simultaneously you work on your grooming in terms of your additional certifications and different skill sets which are required as per the job description. So what is your call on this, like short-term certifications? Do you think that it always pays to business students?
So learning is never a waste of time. It's always an investment for long term. That's what I firmly believe. However, I'm not a fan of certifications as such. I really believe hands-on work and actually assisting, be it a teaching assistant role, be it an internship, that helps more. Being on live projects actually help you far better than what you would just do with a certification. Of course, you learn. So if somebody was going for a comp certification, learning, say, right from employee stock options to executive comp plans, that's a great win. But every course also that you do, whether on Coursera or LinkedIn, those are also short courses, not necessarily that you are paying for the certification. Some of them might be paid for. Some of them actually offer scholarships that students can bid for and complete those trainings over a period of 4 to 6 weeks and get that certification. So there are so many ways you could do that, but you have to actually customize and focus on your strengths, play to your strengths, don't broaden it too much. You want to actually say, if you were wanting to get into a marketing role, what kind of marketing role? Are you looking at being into data analytics? Then look for those kind of certifications or courses is what I would say.
So another addition to what you said, we are also doing the profiling and visual profiling of students.
Awesome. Strengths.
Programs, so that we should identify their strength areas and gap areas right in the beginning of semester. And then our faculty can work on various aspects as per their requirements and competency and skill sets. So my another question to you was like, do you think that life skills and behavioral skills are very important? I know it's a lifeline for every professional today. So
you will laugh if I shared an example. Just today I learned a new skill. Yeah, that I really wished I learned from my mother. So my mother used to give us haircuts, and I'm really missing this bad one. I really need a haircut. So I actually gave a haircut to my husband today, and I was saying, I wish I learned this. So cooking helps me, not just in India, I'm also a vegetarian for that matter. And then I've lived in so many different countries. So that always came in so handy. So it's a life skill, and it definitely helps you balance work and eat. Food is such an integral part of a living being for that matter, or a human being, I would say. So if you're not happy or mentally at peace with what you're getting to eat, how would you really perform well in your workplace? Yeah. So there are so many ads about this. Hungry, if you're hungry, how it makes you angry. And there's a word called hangry or something. There's so many ads out there on this. So life skills, and actually I believe in that thought of school also, that you're not going for formal education, but actually teaching your kids right from the beginning. Yes, education, but then you're teaching them how could you be doing electrical stuff in the house? How could you be actually knowing how to actually assemble IKEA furniture? So which I learned first time in US, by the way, and because I had a German friend who helped me, and she was totally standard that saying I have an engineering background and I can't look at that diagram and actually assemble things. So I think all of it helps you so much in workplace, being curious, always learning, asking questions, asking for help. Those are the right skills that even Dr. Singh was asking, what would an employer look for? So communication skills, asking for help, always leveraging resources, being resourceful yourself. Those are all important skills. So as you rightly said, they actually go hand in hand and with your principals at the school.
There's one very interesting question by anonymous attendee here. And the question is, how can one be mentally active during this whole pandemic period? So I think they want to know from you the tips, how to be mentally active.
I think all of us are all the time mentally active with so much news just being sent our way, and how do you really curate, and then all the anxiety that we have. But I think it's actually more about mental health, your mindset, how do you manage that stress, and how do you actually remain physically active. So how do you really take care of yourself? Self-care is so important right now. So both being physically active while you're indoors, but also being mentally sound and healthy. I think that's what I would think the question is, because everybody is active that way, but there's so many ways and so many different things that works for different people. So for me, cooking relaxes me. I love singing. I would dance on a song that just helps me. Those are my happy spots. What are your happy spots? So it could be anything. It is not necessarily going through a certification or a learning course. Maybe you love or you become very active and engaged when you're playing a video game. So be it. Maybe for somebody it's just a peanut butter sandwich that really lights up their day, and you start thinking all positive thoughts. I think that is how you should really choose for yourself. You should know, and you should really think, if you don't know that, what are your happy places, happy things that you do.
So as you're meeting so many people in your network and you're in touch with them, so can you just elaborate on hiring landscape right now, specifically post-COVID?
Sure. And I had actually taken a few notes also to share with you. So hiring landscape, most of the industries and sectors have actually halted. but some industries are in huge demand during this pandemic. And all of us know, like sectors such as healthcare, education, technology, consumer goods, they're still hiring because there's a need. Those businesses are thriving. E-commerce companies such as Amazon and BigBasket are hiring. Amazon is not hiring for their corporate roles as such, but they are focusing on running their operations, on their fulfillment centers. So there are so many leadership roles out there, even in their fulfillment centers. You just need to go to the website and see. BigBasket has been actually doing so many ads, and even through LinkedIn, that they're looking to hire people. And it's not necessarily the roles of delivery boys as such. So you should really keep a track of that and be in touch with those recruiters from these companies. So that's the hiring landscape that I know of so far. And then we've been hearing news about how Google is slowing down their hiring. And these are IT organizations we're speaking about. And there are, few roles that are definitely stagnant of people. There's more people out there than there would be jobs in the near future. There's definitely going to be, we're already hearing about pay cuts, about part-time work, about contractors and consulting assignments being called off. And recruiters, a lot of recruiters saying that there is a hiring freeze. Also, international mobility within the organization has been affected. So people who are employees who were supposed to go into global experience kind of roles, so international movements, they have been halted too. So there's definitely that. Economy has been impacted, and so has the employment.
So just share with them, like when they appear for the interview, I'm talking about specifically the final year students who are in the urge of getting the jobs and looking for careers post MBA and post masters, because I'm not here considering UG students, because anyhow they have a chance to get into master's degree and still they can spend their 2 years in masters. So I'm much worried about those post-grad students who are ready, job ready. And what do you think that what are the various prerequisites that HR people generally see when they interview a particular candidate? What are their hiring parameters basically? So can you just define that so that they should focus on their grooming right in this particular lockdown period to utilize it well? Yeah.
Sure. So there's two parts to it. One is you have organizations actually coming to your campus to hire these people. And if you already know who the employer is, and in no case actually whether they're coming on campus or whether you're trying to reach out on your own, because there are less organizations coming on campus, or maybe the offers have been withdrawn, or there's not so many openings that everybody gets hired, you should start from researching the company website, looking at their culture, looking at their principles, vision, mission. You should have at least 5 to 7 stories ready of how would you be a match for that company. If you are not a culture fit, how can you actually be a culture add for that organization? What do you bring to the table? So before you even reach out, or even before you go interview, you should actually broaden your search by being open to more industries and sectors, and make sure that you have your story crafted. So before you reach out to anyone, think about your highlights. What have you achieved so far as a student in and out of the classroom? So your leadership skills matter, your community engagement matters, your global experiences, all of that matter. It's important to articulate these skills also when you're interviewing. So very important to actually, even before the interviewer is asking, you have an answer of why you, or what do you bring to the table. Your story should be manifested on your social media, on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile. So it should authentically tell your story. What recruiters, obviously every organization looks for certain things because they follow their leadership principles, and then there's a job description. Never miss reading a job description, be it on the website, or even if you were going for a general interview, you should always ask what is the role about, what kind of skills are you looking at, and then you have a set of skills saying these are mandatory skills, and then some skills that they write saying those would be desirable skills. Do you have stories around that? And if you do, how do you keep your stories to the point? Do you use the STAR technique, situation, task, action, result? If you've not done yet, I would say please take time, write down 5 to 7 stories from that angle. What are your biggest achievements so far? What are your strengths? What is that you really need to work on? Were there projects that you worked on where you had to manage conflict? These are all the questions, ma'am, from an HR angle. And from my experience that I have worked for so many organizations, and I have not just been an interviewer, but also an interviewee. So I would say those things.
Okay, another very important point, Monica, which we all, when we were also, management students, we also keep that thing in mind that no, I'll just jump into leading brand directly. I'll go to my dream brand and all. As you said in the beginning that, there's no harm working in a small setup, learning for 1 or 2 years span of time, and then grooming yourself up to the standards of higher standards of multinational companies.
So important.
The good global companies who are actually very high in their reach in terms of their employability and maybe their market share and branding. So what is your message to students on that? Because I have seen that many times they always look for package and brand, and then they expect in the beginning only to be the CEO, or they expect.
So very important actually at this time to broaden your search, not just stick to your dream companies, multinational companies. You actually get such great experiences with startups, small scale, mid scale. They just give you stretch assignments. You get your hands on so many things, and you're stretched. By what I mean, you're stretched is you are doing things that you would have probably with an MNC been in a very silo, very focused kind of role, and not actually doing very strategic things because it's your first job. So actually startups or mid-scale and small-scale companies would give you that opportunity to not just hone your skills, what you had, but actually to build the skills and things that you've never even imagined, and you may start enjoying. And that may be like a turning point in your career, whether you totally change your function. I know so many examples. So one of my seniors from Rutgers, he obviously did an HR program and got into Nokia, and one of his rotations with Nokia was into marketing. He's never returned back to HR after that, and his background before that was engineering. So Nokia happened long back that he actually got such kind of experience in Finland. But you don't have to wait for such leadership development or getting into those LDP kind of roles, be it finance leadership program or HR leadership program. You don't have to be on those fast track programs. If you look at my career also, I had never been into a HR leadership development program kind of role, but currently I am a director. I was in a senior role even before this, and it's just how you manage, and you don't follow the traditional path. Be creative about it, but be very clear and focused. And how you would get to being very clear and focused is if you actually get more exposure of what is out there, doing different roles, working with various organizations, even within the same organizations, being proactive and asking for voluntary work. Maybe you like some function, you go say, oh, I have this full-time job, but then I would also like to volunteer some of my time, do this. There's so many ways you can do this. So definitely broaden your search. Don't stick to just MNCs. You would really, I don't know, you'd be depressed if you don't get it.
So, Monica ji, another question and concern that we have seen today, that many of the trainers and faculty and HR people, they always say that we hire people on the basis of their attitudes and behavior, and all these things we consider as the utmost parameter of hiring. So what happened is, like in business schools, I think exceptions are there, like we Auro University, because we balance both education, conceptual understanding. IQ and EQ are very important balance for us, specifically in our teaching, learning pedagogy. So what do you think, like, because many times they think that attitude is equally important, personality is important, and then they compromise on the conceptual and fundamental understanding of the core areas. For example, marketing, they may have superficial understanding, but they may have a wonderful communication to convince a customer. So what do you think, this combination is very important. This balance is very important, that your knowledge should not be superficial, and along with that, your behavior need not to be projected. It has to be a sustainable, positive behavior, because many times in interviews, we project very differently. In fact, many times we are unable to identify our own self. Am I the same person who is there in front of interviewers? Because our projection is quite different. So what is your lookout on IQ EQ balance, specifically when students are sitting for any interview or they are appearing for any different kind of maybe interviews? Yeah,
sure. It is a stressful situation, and I don't know why students, even I used to get worried about interviews until I became aware that as long as I focus on just being myself and actually focusing on adding value in that conversation, all my anxiety is gone. And being a diversity and inclusion expert, Suri ma'am, I always actually advocate being yourself is very important. Being authentic is very important. Those recruiters have, I don't know, done thousands of interviews. They would know, as they say, in a chutki, of whether you're faking it or whether you are this true self. Why I say being authentic or being your true self also matters is you are your best version when you are yourself. You're more relaxed when you're yourself. When you're speaking about your real experiences and actually making the conversation engaging, it doesn't matter. It is a one-on-one or if there's 2 or 4 people sitting there, even if you were an introvert, but you focused and you made your mind that today I add value to this discussion. Maybe I teach them something new. Maybe I share a new learning that they didn't know of. So always focus on that and your anxiety would go away. And another thing, even if you were to get away with this fake persona or just focusing on those glamorous things, you would never get far. Conceptual understanding is so important. It's so important to do your jobs well. You would never really, I would say, how would I say it? So if you were aspiring to get to bigger roles, as you said, somebody wants to be just CEO right out of the program or just wants a senior leadership role with an MNC, a brand that they desire, you would never get to that level if you were not doing your job right and if you were not doing that job well. So you have to be not just high potential, a high performer also. Only then you would be considered for future roles. So your conceptual understanding is so important, be it an introvert or an extrovert or somebody midway. Never let that go. Just focusing on saying I'm going to just speak fluently, just work on my communication skills, work on English. No, everybody can do that. What can you bring to the table? How are you making it different? How are you innovating or being creative? How are you challenging the status quo? So you have to understand to actually challenge the status quo.
Yeah, I think you actually stated very well that performance and potential, they need to be balanced. It's not like we are potential high on one particular parameter and then performing less, and then we become in the stage of dogs category in the organization with low performance and no contribution. And another question to you is like, according to your experience, what do you think that today young students, specifically young professionals who are passing out from school, business schools, they are not sustaining in one job. They are restless to pick up next job at the same time. Within a period of 1 year, when you just see their resume, you will find 2 or 3 different jobs. So what do you think? What are the parameters and what is your analysis on that? Why they are leaving the job and why they are over ambitious to just reach to that particular level and package with a very fast pace and looking for shortcuts with due honor. So what is your message to students on that? Yeah.
I think there are 3 things playing there. One, as you first said, they were so influenced with all the glamour and just focusing on their attitude and communication skills that they faked it. That is really not who they are. And they didn't actually focus on those conceptual skills. So, and hence they're struggling in their workplace. And they were so keen on getting in this organization with whatever the package or maybe the desperation just to have a job, that they actually did not screen the company in terms of their principles, the culture. They didn't take the time to actually speak to the current employees, members, or even you could ask a hiring manager, I would just like to speak to the team members. It doesn't have to, it's not rude. It's not that you're going overboard to ask. You are also assessing as an MBA student. It's not just it's not just you getting assessed to get an interview or get a job. You are supposed to assess whether that organization is right for you. So you've not done that research well. Second, jobs are so glamorized, and so all the excess we have with social media and how the workplace is global now, people are impatient, and many of them don't get the right advice that if you were to really excel and you keep on job hopping, you definitely may not end up getting the kind of strategic work or the kind of stretch assignments that actually take you to the next level. You would miss out on that. You would just keep on getting a newer title as the India market works. And the JD still is the same. It's just that every time you do a job change, you get whatever 20, 30, 40% hike, but you're not really happy in that workplace. Third, very important advice. A lot of people think they learn very fast, and probably after 3-6 months down the line, they're saturated. They want something new to do. They want explore this new organization, or just because there's a job out there that will pay you more, you're ready to take up that job. That is also not the right attitude, I would say, and you're missing out on a lot of things. When you think you're saturated, or you, like we were discussing, we're learning every day. So if I say my expertise is this, or my passion is this, there is a curve that you would reach, that you think you're learning, and then you think, oh, now I know everything. It's super flat. Now I'm not learning anything new on the same job. I'm expert at this. I do it in 2 hours. They're paying me for 8 hours. Oh, now this is the time to move to next organization. You stay here for some time. Then comes that curve again, because there is a deep dive in every subject. So people around the world, if you were really to look within your functional expertise, be it marketing or finance or HR, and if you really look up to role models, look what their career has been. They've spent 25, 35 years doing the same thing. So what is it? Are they saturated? They're learning every day. There's so much to do in every function. I think this is the piece a lot of people don't understand, and they keep on switching. And generally, the generational gap also plays into picture, that they're more impatient.
Yes. Another important question is, like you talked about FMCG retail, that look for some different jobs also, if not in this particular sector. So what do you think, what will be the post-COVID-19 trend in financial sector markets, like in banking and insurance and in stock exchange, security markets? Do you think that it will have a little better job prospects in comparison to any other sector?
So every crisis also leads to opportunities. What opportunities I see here, and then there are legalities also. So banking employees, if we were to speak about financial sector, and then we speak about, say, our relationship managers, the banking employees in general, they didn't have access until this point to do a lot of stuff from home. So there are basic things that are active, but there is a lot of legalities based on security and all. So let's not get into that of what's not possible, but what is possible is this. Insurance companies are now realizing the importance of smart working. They want all their entities and all their employees to actually do a lot of work from home, a lot of work through their tabs and phones. And this has been a wish for some time, but actually COVID-19 forced this work from home situation, and leaders had a lot of biases too, that work from home doesn't really work, people are not productive, they're doing their own stuff, meetings need to happen in person, virtual and all is not, in person is the best way to do anything. So they are also realizing that things can be done, their employees are productive, their trust is also growing, not just from work from home, but for their people, their leadership skills are improving. It's actually difficult to get these leaders in an in-person meeting, ma'am. It keeps on rescheduling again and again, and you have to continuously work with the executive assistants. But now with the virtual world, leaders are actually keeping to their meetings because it's convenient for them. They stick to those times. There are no more reschedules. So you have direct access to these leaders. So these things are changing for good. And what would come up as opportunities is this, virtual teams, which has been in place. A lot of companies saying that this is their bread and butter and they excel at it, but they actually lack this. They lack social closeness amongst their virtual teams. They lack work processes and policies around remote teams. All that is upcoming, and so is a lot of working from home and smart working, which will be creating a lot of opportunities in that direction also. And a lot of people actually taking this time that they never found before with their work-life balance not just for their hobbies or physical and mental wellness, but actually developing that business idea, because you have access to friends whose companies have asked them to work just part-time for 3 months. They want to do something for next half of the time that they are used to working. So you can together build, you can come up with some business venture also. So many good things also coming out of this.
Yeah. So as you know that in our university, we have a good blend of students coming from family business background. So what is your message to them if they want to pursue their career within their own family owned business setup? So what should be the do's and don'ts for them, which they should take care of, and how should be their approach towards their employees and everyone who is working within their setup? So I think it will be a great piece of advice for them. Yeah.
So I think it is so important for family business people to actually go experience working with another organization before they actually begin with their family business. So take up maybe just an internship or a small term kind of role, especially with a competitor or somebody that your family business desires to be. So say if you were a small version of some business, but you really wanted to become an Amazon or a big basket or take it global, maybe it's just operating in one region of India, just taking it pan India, but you're just out of your B school. And if you've not really experienced, I would say go spend a couple of years in a corporate environment, be again, not just an MNC for that matter, and doing different roles, not just your expertise. So if you were, say, a marketing person, you wanted to go head marketing with your family business, I would say go pick up some roles, do something in finance also, learn about HR also. It's so important to experience corporate world before you go join your family business. You should strive for that. That will definitely add a lot of value. Within your family business, things that have not worked so far or have been troublesome for family businesses for expansion is they're not recruiting from outside world. They're making their children are their succession pipeline. It's not succession pipeline, it's replacement planning. Succession pipeline is when you actually look at peers from outside, hiring the best person for the job. So I would say even if you were just just graduating from your program, you should go take up that field work or floor level work. So say in a manufacturing setup, go see what the blue collar laborers actually do on the assembly line or in the paint shop. Before you actually go and sit to become the head, you should actually spend a few years learning more about your business and how employees and what are they doing, what are your managers doing, before you actually decide to go head the business or lead the business. It's so important to establish those relationships also with your existing employees and treat them with respect, treat everyone equally. I think that's very important. Being approachable, being knowledgeable, knowing actually about your business, all these things would actually make you a desirable leader for your employees and your family business. They'd really look up to you and they would not just say that, oh, another MBA graduate and yeah, it's his family business and he doesn't deserve or she doesn't deserve and they just got this role because their parents actually had this in place.
Yeah. So Monica, what do you think? Like, world has witnessed many recessions in the past also at the time of crisis and such kind of maybe natural disasters or maybe all these crises which we are facing today because of COVID-19. So how do you see the past crisis and the upcoming crisis different in terms of recession?
And I wish I read your article on this that you were saying A to Z of coronavirus.
Okay.
It's definitely different. Yeah. Because crisis but as I first also said, crisis also lead into opportunities, but this is something that actually nobody experienced, nobody thought of in at least this century. There have been flus and those diseases that were spreading and people were staying home, but that was long back. None of us were born, and neither were our grandfathers or moms or anybody. So nobody has experienced this. But I think we should be looking on the positive side of what were our ambitions or what were our goals and vision before COVID-19. They're still possible. There's just going to be a little detour, some twists and turns to get there. But if you tried every day, you can still reach there. And each one of us can actually do that. And there'll be new opportunities upcoming. So don't just restrict yourself to thinking that maybe I did a major in marketing, or maybe I'm an MBA marketing, hence I want to be a senior manager marketing somewhere. Look at broader opportunities, what is upcoming, keep up with the news, the trends, speak to your professors. They are continuously researching, publishing papers. They will tell you which network groups you should be a part of. They may actually be able to introduce you to some of your alumni. Reach out to your alumni network actually. Just ask for a discussion, learn about what they do in their everyday roles, and look around you. Which people actually have jobs right now, or whose businesses are booming? And you should take some learning from there, right from where people are speaking about AI to machine learning to big data. There's so many trends out there. I would say definitely not just focus on your school learning, exams and interviews, but become more global. Don't just think about India or one region. There are so many opportunities. I'm a living example. When I started my venture, it is always global. We are a group of 50 plus professionals spread across geographies. We have tie-ups with companies right from South Africa, even in India, to UK, US, Netherlands. So many different partners all around the world, in Canada, in US. So these actually bring up more. World is more of a big marketplace than just India. Start thinking global, because the workplace is global.
Yeah, that's very important point. And we'll end up with two very important questions. I'm sure that might be in the mind of every student. Like in the interview, very first question always comes out to be, tell us something about yourself. So I know many times students are confused what to include, what to delete, what to add. So can you just throw some light on impressive way of handling this question, like tell us something about yourself? Yeah.
So I would say there's a concept, and maybe you may have already told the students, or they may have heard, but elevator pitch. So think about yourself being in an elevator for 30 seconds or a minute, stuck with the CEO of your desired company. And if they were to ask you, or if you were to introduce yourself to them, what would you tell them in a short elevator ride? Those are the key highlights. And in my previous tips, actually, when I was saying you need to articulate your skills properly, and you really need to sit down with a pen and paper, think about your experiences and skills, not just in the school, but outside also as a student. What are you good at? And have those examples ready if you really made a difference. If you were, say, volunteered for an NGO or a cause, you raised money, all those things are so important. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you did something for a corporate that's saving that corporate millions or maybe thousands of dollars. You could have done something for a cause, but what it needs to show when you're sharing your story is it is you authentic, you're articulating it well, you're actually putting in those numbers. Not everybody may have numbers in there. Try if it's there, because it really attracts people. And then what are those big things? So for me, I'm very proud saying, some of my projects were presented in the White House. That immediately catches anybody's attention. They want to know more, which projects were those. So you want to give the interviewer things that actually attracts them, and they want to actually engage more and learn more about it. And don't give stories like what place you are from or this, and I have so many siblings. I'm sorry, I was going to say. So parents do this. That's not what they want to hear. They want to hear who you are, what have you done, how have you taken initiatives, have you led your student organizations, you have so many clubs at Oro, are you a part of it? Is dancing your skill? Is Aadhaar the club that you really actually that is the club that resonates with you, and you're actually going volunteering? There's so many things you could make a part of your brief introduction. What you could do is this next step, you have it, but then you go to people like Rucha, you go speak to Dr. I don't know how much time, ma'am, you have, but I know
please
professors and everybody.
Interesting point and very important. Yeah.
No, I was saying how much time you have for students, but students could actually come pitch that, practice in front of you, ask for your input, for Rucha's input, within friends' input. So you have to constantly build and make it better, and it keeps on improving over time. It's not that first draft you had is all right. I am still working on my elevator pitch. I still have a few good things to say, but I always think about how to say maximum impactful things in less words or less time. I'm still struggling. I still practice.
Yeah. And another last thing is like how important are the reference check and references which we place in CV? Because many times, students or maybe professionals don't understand the importance of those references, and they just take those referrals maybe without the consent of the people to whom they know. So what are the protocols for references that we place in our resume? Yeah.
So as you rightly said in your question, it's very important to ask the person first if they would mind if there was a call, somebody called, if there was somebody, and what is the way to communicate. First check with the individual whether they are open for a phone call, whether somebody can reach out to them over email, and would they even like to speak about you. It is so important to first check before writing down somebody's name and contact details on your resume. That needs to be taken care of. It's I won't say it's illegal, I would say it's stupid to do that if you are not checking with people, because you want them to be present if your desired employer wants to speak to your reference checks for your referrals and your references for any reference or background check. So you want to make sure that they're okay with it. And before I'm sure, ma'am, there's the laws around plagiarism also within your university. They have to give credit, they have to paraphrase, and they need to use a certain format. For references, you need to first check with the person whether that person is okay for you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be everybody from corporates. Maybe somebody has no experience or doesn't have a family business, just come from bachelor's to master's. You can actually leverage your network, your campus ecosystem is the closest network you have. So which professors or which teaching assistants or which of your friends are actually okay to be your references? Or is there a friend whose father maybe has a family business, or whose mother is an entrepreneur, very well-known person in the industry, or maybe the person's sister or brother is doing something? You can actually have their references to it. All depends on whether you're building your relationships, whether you build positive relationships, and only then you check and you put the right. And they need to add value. They need to know you too, to speak about you. So how can you just put anybody's and they have no idea?
Yeah, very well, sir. Another point is what do you think, what is the ideal size of a resume specifically for a fresh MBA? Because we are designing the resumes and we are still, trying to filter out some important information related to students, because maybe it may go beyond 20 or 30 pages for people who and me that who have already, given good contribution to jobs and maybe a period of their career. So what do you think, what is the ideal size of a resume for an MBA?
Sure. And this goes back to these people actually thinking about themselves too, that they are so impatient, and recruiters literally have 10-20 seconds to browse through when they're choosing, and how does it actually stand out. But I would say keep it to, if you were a fresh grad with say a 3 to 5 years of experience, or I would say even me, if you were to look at my resumes, it's never more than 2 pages. I try to keep it between 1.5 to 2 pages, even though I have worked with so many organizations and so much clientele. But if people wanted to learn more about me, it's not through my resume. That's just the beginning. They will learn about me from myself, the brand that I've built on social media, through LinkedIn, through my website, through my company deck that speaks about all my articles that have been published. And there's so many ways to find out more about me. So your resume really needs to just include your highlights and necessary information, and it should always be not more than 2 pages. And this is global standard. This is not even just India for that matter. But if you've not done many things, there's no point. Nobody is interested in reading tasks on your projects that you did this action and this action, and you need to summarize of what impact did it create, or what was the objective, and write it in a few lines.
Yeah. And last but not the least is job search. You talked about various search engines which will actually give them good visibility. So can you suggest to-do list of their job search? How should it look like? Some tips of to-do list of job search? Yeah.
Sure. So I would say begin with your inner circle, begin with the network you have built, and figure out the ways of how you want to communicate. So say if you were reaching out to somebody new, how would you reach out? If you met the person say in person, it's a different piece. But if you haven't, then it's other. And currently in this situation, or even post-COVID, it's so important to actually make sure that they know that you are also mindful of their time and you care and you know about the circumstances. So whenever you start, you should start with saying, hope you are doing well, or hope you and your loved ones are doing well, and give a background, and then say, here's my request. So be thoughtful in your communication. If you've requested somebody's time, then say for a meeting, a discussion, or an interview, right at the end that maybe if this week is not that good for you, then please let me know at a time that you're available, and I will continue to stay connected with you week to week. So you take the responsibility to follow up and let the person know that you understand that this may not be a great time for them to connect. So knowing the best way to connect is extremely important. And if you know the person, I would say don't write an email, because these days everybody is working from home. So email may get lost, and you actually try to set up a phone call or a Skype call and just ask somebody how would they like to connect. Everybody uses WhatsApp these days around the world. So also don't mind or don't take it personally if you don't hear back from someone. And don't be afraid to reach out. A lot of people may not be as busy at this time, and they want to help and they want to mentor. Very important is when you reach out to someone, you be specific and clear on your ask. What are you asking? Sometimes what happens is people may be busy, or they'd come back saying, I don't have time for this, but hey, here are some resources that may be helpful. And sometimes it is just those resources that actually give you a jump start to start your search or whatever you're working on. And ask questions when you're meeting people or setting up time or just genuinely reaching out. Understanding a professional's earlier career history may be very helpful. Just knowing where did they start to where they are now. Hearing just ask them what, say if you were reaching out to some of your alumni and those were your desired roles, you should ask them that what are the necessary skills for those roles and what does their everyday look like. So genuinely be interested in what you want to do, and they'll remember you. Daily actions or to-do list, I think very important right now is also mindset and self-care. They're the most important things. How you manage your time, you need to have a guidepost. Different things work for different people. For me, I actually, end of the day, I see what's lined up for next day, but I do a weekly schedule also. So maybe on a Friday or a Sunday, I would set time aside and I would plot my calendar for the entire week. And then every day I would assess at the end of the day what is coming up next. So you should do the same. You should keep up also with the industry news, job postings. Use this tool called Flipboard. So instead of a lot of news coming our way, use Flipboard, Flipboard. It actually curates news based on the topic. So say, for example, you wanted to get into digital marketing, it would show you with that term, it would show you worldwide articles on that topic. So it's not just to certifications or your school program, but you can actually, as Rucha says, keep on reading articles also to broaden your conceptual understanding. For networking, write down at least names of 20 to 30 people. And make sure that you actually have set targets for yourself, that every week I'm going to speak to 2 to 4 people. Reach out to at least one person every day. That should definitely help. And as I earlier said, think about the vision before COVID-19, the big vision. That is still possible with some detours, twists and turns. Take small steps every day. And above all, everything that you do every day, take every day by day, and remember to take care of yourself. These are stressful times for everybody. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We also have a career coaching services unit. You can always write to us, campus@neo7.in. There are 2 lovely examples I want to share. I had gone, Suri ma'am, to Tapni last year. I was a part of the panel that was teaching them on resume writing and group discussion and interviewing skill. And I met these 6-7 bright students from HR background. And 2 of them actually recently, just a week back, they reached out to me saying they had their jobs, full-time jobs, but their joinings have been delayed. And so is there a possibility that they could assist me on some of the assignments? And I remembered one of them with diversity inclusion being her core area. And the other person was just super bright and entrepreneurial. And I said immediately, yeah, why not come? And they have paid internships with my organization. What is good about this is they actually remembered to reach out to me. They were proactive and presence of mind. So people may actually have jobs for you even now in these times. Don't be heartbroken. It's just that you have not reached out. And unless you reach out and you tell, obviously people wouldn't know what challenges you are facing and they wouldn't know how to help. So please ask, I would say.
Yeah, so Monica, welcome you on board of CDC Oro University, because you've given me a good clue of interns working with you and under you and learning a lot. And I can imagine the kind of grooming they are acquiring from your setup and specifically from you and out of your experience. And we'll also utilize your competencies in future. And
Sure,
my
ma'am.
last question, it is not a question, it's a request to you to give just one-liner success or positivity mantra to our students who are actually listening to you at this point in time. Yeah.
Please be yourself. Be your authentic self. Believe in yourself. That will make you more confident.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Monica. I think great insights we got from you, and whatever you shared in the form of different websites for job hunt.
I will put in a list and send to Rucha.
Yeah. And
I already have it noted, so
I'm sure
still
she
I'll just
already
reach
knows
out
with
to
her
you.
Rutgers experience. She should
Yes.
definitely know about these things.
Yes, of course.
And tell them about Monster and Indeed as well, apart from LinkedIn.
yes. So I'll request Rucha to just drop your mail through which you can just list few other search engines also.
Yeah, and the hashtags also I'll share what they should look.
Also, because that is something very useful and meaningful information. So overall, I want to deliver heartfelt thanks to you for your
Thank you,
presence.
ma'am.
So I would really heartily thank you, Monica, for agreeing to come forward and help our students. You have provided really good insights, which will really help them, because I have been trying to train their mind. I have been trying to inspire them or motivate them to work on similar aspects.
I would not
And
expect
As
anything
you
less
and
from
me
you.
both have the yes, as you and me have the similar experience with our universities, so we have been talking about the similar things, like how to approach for a job or how to apply for the job. So I'm very much sure that students made the most out of it. And of course, as Honorable Dean and Head of Department has already mentioned, we look forward to have you physically on campus and interact with our students, talk to them, probably solve their queries and help them to grow as a
It
person.
would be wonderful
in the
to
end.
meet you also.
Yeah.
It would be 2 years now since we met. Last
Yeah,
was my
it's been
SHR
2
and
years.
keynote in US. You were
That's
still on
true.
campus. Yeah.
That's true. It's already been 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see you very soon. And all the students who have been online and attending this particular webinar, I'm sure you had some key takeaways, good learning. I would really appreciate if you could share your feedback with me or Dr. Suri. We would arrange more webinars for you in this particular order, and we will definitely try to help you. So just be in touch, communicate with us, and we are always here to help and support you in the best possible way. So again, thank you so much, Rohit sir, for giving me this opportunity and bringing Monica on board for our students and helping me coordinate everything in place.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
for the
much.
opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a nice
Yeah.
rest of the week, everyone. Take
Monica,
care.
please take care.
Okay.